Hi, my name is Keith Dunton, and I'm a creative producer for the marching arts. I'm here today to talk to you about the creative process from inception all the way through to the production of the product itself. We'll mainly be discussing how this applies towards fall marching band. However, a lot of the concepts will work for the indoor activity as well as the summer activity. A few things about myself. I marched in Drum Corps International, the Madison Scouts, in 1995 and 96 on soprano, which now they have trumpets. The sopranos are gone. I went to St. Olaf College and got a Bachelor of Music degree in performance. I moved out from the great state of Minnesota to Los Angeles in 2000. And since I graduated college in 1997, I've been working steady with marching bands continuously every year. Started off in a teaching capacity, and then moving my way up to doing more and more design work with each group. I was on the brass staff of the Concord Blue Devils from 2013 to 2019. And currently I run my own business called Design by Keith, where I produce around 15 to 17, 18 shows each year all across the United States, as well as do in-person clinics in Asia. I have a lot of clients in Beijing and worked with some fantastic programs over there as well. So I look forward to talking with you. And at any point in time, you can feel free to reach out to myself at designbykeith.com. You can log on there, the very front of the page, just have the little form you can fill out. It'll send me an email, and I'll be happy to answer any question or, go back and forth on some of the concepts and some of the thoughts that you have through the process of creating a marching arts product. All right, let's get going. Let's talk about the concept. How do we come up with the concept? I have a lot of people that ask me, hey Keith, do you come up with the music first or the visual first? And I always say yes and yes. Sometimes they both come together at the exact same time. When we look at something, and as a producer or program coordinator, depending how you want to call it, I prefer producer, we're trying to match ideas. As we come up with these concepts, or you work with a client that has an idea of a concept, like they like this piece of music. Your job is to sit there and take the two and get them to come together and match within a theme. Now, sometimes this goes really fast and really easy. Much like writing songs. I'm a musician, I love to play guitar, write songs. Sometimes I write something and it's done in 10 to 15 minutes. Other times there's things that I haven't finished for a year and I keep sort of chipping away at it. So when coming up with a concept for marching and the marching arts, start with whatever inspires you the most. Creativity is so subjective. There is no right or wrong. Now, things I might like, you might not like, and vice versa. There are shows and movies that I've gone to and loved, and the person I'm with is like, oh, that was terrible. Neither of us are right or wrong. That's just our interpretation of art. And at the end of the day, that's what we're creating. We're creating art. So in the concept side, really allow yourself to think as big as you possibly can. Start with the music. Start with the visual. Find something that inspires you. Odds are, if you like it, somebody else is going to like it as well. When you take some risks, sometimes people aren't going to like it as much because you're really asking them to go really far in a journey into your mind and your soul and your heart on what you want to see on the field or on the floor if you're indoors. But allow yourself to think big as you possibly can. Find some music, find some visual art, look at different concepts from other people, what they've done, take parts of what they have, take other pieces of music, and see if you can't make your own. Now, I'm not saying going and stealing other people's shows. I'm saying allow them to influence you. Sometimes we get so competitive because it's a competitive way of going out and having art, right? There's scores that are read. However, when we start at the beginning, the concept shouldn't feel competitive. It should feel inspirational. So watch somebody else's show. Write down what you like about it. Write down the things that didn't necessarily resonate with you. Talk to other people about it. And the more you discuss all of these different elements of how you come up with ideas, or other people come up with ideas, you're going to start to find your own voice and the things that you like to do. Now, I will say, much like when you watch TV shows or movies, not everybody's going to follow you down that rabbit hole. So just be aware and have some self-awareness and have some good people around you that you can bounce ideas off of back and forth to sort of keep it in check for what's going to work best for the student and the performer in whatever avenue or venue that you're going to perform in. Because we want to create art and come up with a concept, but we can't get too far off track. Sometimes, yes, especially in drum corps. It's high advanced theater for the marching arts. You really got to go. I like to think about it as almost like a Formula One race car. You're out there and you're supposed to push the boundaries as much as possible. When you get into the school realm, it's a little bit harder just because the age difference is quite a bit compared to drum corps, right? We have 22-year-olds versus 14-year-olds as freshmen coming into marching band, right? So keep all those things in mind. Now, if you're going to be the one that's coming up with the creative process, you are the tastemaker. That being said, sometimes it's really important to have other tastemakers on your team that can also contribute, and you guys can bounce ideas back and forth, and there's no judgment. You're not worried about getting your feelings hurt. I've been a part of a lot of design meetings where 12 people all come into a room, we sit at a table, and everybody starts saying their idea. And immediately people get defensive, and they don't like this idea, they like this idea. Well, now the simple tech that just showed up, first time being hired, has an idea. Some people like it, and now some people are hurt who have been on staff for a long time because like, well, I've been here for a long time. All of that doesn't matter. A lot of that is insecurity, and we can't allow that to come into the creative process. So find the things that you like. Find music, find visual, work on matching them up together. Now, a little bit of tactical advice. Depending on how many people you're working with within each school environment or competitive group, I like to start with my design process very, very small. I like to get the idea as pure as possible. And I have a few people that I talk to that is sort of my trusted circle where we'll bounce things back and forth very, very, very quickly. I'm not waiting 2-3 weeks to hear back from somebody. It's within minutes to an hour of just ideas. Sometimes if I think it's crazy, I'll bounce it off them and they're like, you know what? I love that. That's great. We might want to adjust one thing. So find other people that you trust that you can bounce these ideas back and forth. Once you feel really good about the product, right? The pure idea, then open it up a little bit more. It's not about being secret. It's just about not allowing everything to get chipped away at, because if you start to chip away too soon, because remember, we want to think big as you possibly can. The minute you start chipping away, it gets a little sideways, and a little sideways this way, and a little bit more this way. Once that happens, it's really hard to take your pure idea of what got you excited about it and see all the way through the process to production towards being performed on the field. I'd like to talk about, as well as with some of my other designer friends, think big, divide by reality, and then divide that by reality, then divide that by reality until you get to something that's achievable and you have the most pure idea that you can actually go out there and perform. I love thinking about concepts. I write down notes. I like to, when I hear a piece of music, I'll save it. When I see an image, I'll save it. And then I have a little collage of different things. Sometimes people come to me with just a visual idea and be like, oh, you know what? That song that I heard last year, I really like. Let's put those together and let's see where that takes us. Last thing I'll say about the concept when you're coming up with these things, don't be afraid to throw your idea out the window immediately. Just because you worked on it for 3 weeks or a month, as long as you're not getting too far in the process, as you're coming up with things, if it's not flowing, if it's just not clicking, get rid of it, move on. Your job as a creative producer, program coordinator, is to come up with new ideas, not to save ideas that are not working. Now, that goes back to insecurity. Don't let insecurities go into your process at all. Creativity is subjective. You have to be pure about it. You're going to have things that are going to be great. You're going to have things that are going to be terrible. But I guarantee you, if you're not holding on to ideas and trying to manufacture them to the point that it's going to happen versus just throwing them away, you're going to be fine. You have your concept picked out, you know what you want to do visually, and you know what you want to do musically. Now it's time to move in to the production process of actually making this come to life. There's a few different things we can talk about here, and I'm not going to go into great detail, but enough to kind of get you started. Behind me, I have my circumplex theory of general effect. And what that is my theory based on how you break down, this is going to be for an 8-minute show, which would be the max I would really go for a fall marching band. Usually 7.5 is good. You could change this up to be for drum corps around 11 minutes or whatever you need to do for your indoor show. But this is based on 8 minutes. And if you go to www.designbykeith.com, right on the main page. If you look to the right, there says Circumplex Theory. You can click on that, and it's available for download for free. You can take this. It's something I've spent a couple years working on just how to actually verbalize and visualize how to put together a product on pacing of a show. So when you get a chance, take a look at that. And once again, always feel free to reach out and ask me any questions, or if you disagree with something, reach out and let me know. I'd love to have a conversation with you on it. So a few quick things. You really want to pace out a show, and we always talk about the hello, the how are you, and goodbye. Your beginning, your middle, and your end. I think when a lot of people come up with the concept, they're very good at thinking about how the show's going to start. I like to flip it and reverse engineer and start backwards. I want to know how the show is going to end, because that's going to drive all my choices to make sure we're logically getting to the point where we need to be. So I advise, how's the show going to end? Don't worry about how it's going to start. That's going to come to you, make a little bit more sense once you know how you want to conclude this idea within your concept. A few little tactical things that you can think about. A lot of successful shows, once again, based on these 7 to 8 minutes, will have 5 varying tempos. That's not counting halftime or double time. 5 varying tempos. It gives enough flavor throughout that length of a show to make sure that we're not feeling like everything is the same. Once you have your music picked out and once you have your visual images picked out, make sure that you're following the correct copyright procedure to move forward with those products by getting the license to arrange and a license to be able to print and distribute what you need to. Once again, those are things that you can talk to companies about, like McCormick's, and they'll help walk through the process on the visual imaging side. There's a lot of great music arrangers out there, and if you need help, once again, reach out. I will send you to all of my friends and the people I work with to make sure you understand the correct way to license your music. Once you get the pacing of the show, I like to break things down into scenes. So behind me, I have 7 scenes. Scene 1 would be like your opener. Scene 2 would be the transition into what would be a ballad, which would be a scene 3. A lot of times we think about the music or we think about the visual when you really have to make sure you're focusing on the transitions from one moment to the next moment. Now, indoors, you can transition very quickly. Outdoors, it takes a long time to transition. You have your big hit. You have the color guard spread out. You're heading into your next movement, right? Let's say you're headed to the ballad. Well, now you want to get some new silks. The color guard, with that great open form, needs to go to the side or prop or something to be able to get new equipment to then come back out. So make sure you're planning that in the early stages so the music arranger knows what your idea is, so we're not getting caught down the road where you don't have enough time and people are sprinting off the field to grab something and come back, or allowing a prop to move, or allowing the winds to sort of relocate to allow the soloist, color guard soloist, music soloist, whatever it's going to be. So you have your concept, you have your idea, you know what music you want to play, you know what visual imaging you want to do, you've worked to make sure you get the right copyrights for both, and then you're figuring out the pacing. Great music arrangers, it's very intuitive for them. They spend a lot of time, they've worked on great pacing. Make sure you're reaching out, having those conversations, and let them know, hey, this is what I'm thinking here. So when they start arranging it, they know, oh, that makes sense. I'm going to write it this way. So you're getting sort of that audio visual to match up. But know the ending of the story before you start at the beginning. The music's been arranged, the percussion's been arranged, you've ordered your costumes, you've ordered your silks. It's now time to take this show and put it into production. When we put together a show, whether it be for indoor or outdoor, there are a lot of people involved. I would say majority of my job is talking to lots of people every single day, often. I text, I email, but I call. And the reason I call is I want to make sure we're really communicating throughout the entire process. What happens too often is people don't always understand the direction of what's supposed to be happening. So there's a creative side of it, like here's what I wanted creatively. So I would come up with a music concept and a visual concept. I hand it to the music arranger. Now I want the music arranger to bring out their best talents towards what they're going to do. It's going to be a little bit different than maybe what I would do because I don't arrange like said person, right? But I need to communicate all the way through. We want to draw the talents out of everybody by having good, clear lines of communication. Once you get that music, the wind book, handing off to the percussion book, making sure that the percussion arranger and the music arranger talk. It doesn't have to go through you, every single little part of it, but you're involved in all steps of the process. So you understand, hey, I know the percussion arranger understands what the intent of the show is. Once we have that, now it's time to start staging the show, the drill writer. Now, in my mind, everything up to this point has been sort of a concept idea of what I would love to see happen. When we get to the drill writer, dots have to go to page, then it becomes reality. Remember what we talked about before about divide by reality? If you do a good enough job early on in the process, it's going to be smooth sailing right into the drill writer. A few tactical things when you talk about handing stuff off to the drill writer. They need to understand the concept. They need to have a production sheet. So I have up behind me a production sheet. If you don't have one, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to give you a copy of what I use on Google Docs. But you need to have a production sheet. This is specifically for the drill writer to understand what the intent is. Breaking down the measure number, the phrasing. Now, a drill writer might break down their own phrasing, which is okay. But if you break down what you're thinking, a 16, a 16, a 16, a 12, a hold 24, move 12, let them know, because there's ideas that you started with the music arranger to the percussion arranger with the color guard director. Now you're staging it. The more we can give them, the better off. However, let them do their job. They're specialists at staging shows, and we want their talents to come to the table. So like I said, part of my job is communicating with each individual person and making sure we're providing the best opportunity for them to succeed, to add to the product that then is going to be handed down to the performers. In the production sheet, drill writers can understand music. We don't need to say trumpets are playing here, clarinets are playing here. They know that, they can see it. What they need to understand is there is specific purpose for those trumpets. Are you thinking, halt them because I want to have some rifles with the trumpets? Oh, the clarinets, halt them because this is a very difficult passage that we can't play on the move, and we like to have a silk soloist with them at the same time, right? That way they can plan what is supposed to be. With soloists, let them know in advance. I always like to say on my production sheet, before I even get to the next level, like say heading into a ballad, what I call a scene 3, right? Towards the end, be aware you have 64 counts to get this person in position for a solo. Now they will go ahead and look as much as they can, but when you're writing a lot of drill, some things, you forget, you write it, and then you're like, there's a clarinet soloist there. Then you have to go back and change it. Try to get all of those details in, working out the transitions of the color guard. Who's going out? We can't have everybody running to the sideline or pop at the same time. Designate who's going to transition when. Let them know. Now, they'll probably come back and call or email or text you and say, hey, I can't do this, but I can get them here. 9 times out of 10, it's not a problem. Every once in a while, it's like, ooh, we need to figure out another solution because that's going to cause a problem on the next movement. When you put together the click track for the drill writer, make sure there's 8 clicks for free up front. Reason being, in the drill writing program, when you put your MP3 in, they tap in tempo. If the MP3 starts, you can imagine it's tough to go play, tap, play, tap. If you have it 8 clicks for free, bop, bop, they go click, 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 they're up and rolling. There needs to be a click all the way through the MP3. But 9 times out of 10, it's very easy to go along. But sometimes it's very difficult because we have some very creative and talented percussion arrangers that can turn the beat around a little bit and make magic moments. But it's hard to sit in an office and click it all the way through and make sure that it's not off. So 8 clicks for free, the Met all the way through. It doesn't need to be blaring, just light it up so you can hear it. A balance of the wind and percussion and the best possible mix you can have is going to get a much better product on the drill writer versus a lot of production notes stating the obvious, no click, or the click starting right on beat 1. Those are a few things that will kind of help you, through the process as you're putting this together. Okay, we talked about coming up with the concept, and we talked about some tactical information on how to really get through the production process to getting it on the field. Now, this is the most exciting part Because when you came up with the idea or you worked with a team of people to come up with the idea, now you get to see if it works or if it doesn't work. Do you like it? Was it what you thought it would be? Was it different? Did the audience like it? Do the judges like it? That's where you're going to find out. Take stock in all of it. And what I mean by that is write down what you thought worked well, what didn't work well. The part of the show that you really didn't like that ended up being the crowd favorite, right? Those always happen every single time. And that's okay. That's part of the process. To be involved in this is to be involved in art. You're creating something that performers get to go out there and put a lot of hard work into and make it happen and bring it to life. Once it's on the field, then you really know. And you're starting the process over again. So you can take the knowledge of what you had from the previous season and bring it into the next. Always have a recap meeting either with just yourself or your trusted circle or the program, and allow them to be as honest as possible what worked and what didn't work. If you keep insecurity and ego out of the entire process, you're just going to get it. You're going to hear it and say, okay, I understand that. I'm glad you like that part. I understand why you did not like this part and it wasn't successful. And that's okay. That's just a part of doing what we do. I've been very fortunate to have a fair amount of success in the activity as on the brass staff teaching at Blue Devils over the past 7 years, working with a lot of bands and Bands of America and getting Bands of America medals. However, I can tell you, although it's very special to me, this process is by far above and beyond any of those things. I like learning from it. I love succeeding at it. I love failing at it. It's all a part of it. And if you can really get around that and have that be your core value of what you want to do, I guarantee you, you're going to have a lot of success in the activity. All right. As I said before, feel free to reach out at any point in time. Send me an email. You can go to www.designbykeith.com, and on the front page, put in some information. It'll send me an email and I'll get back to you. If you disagree with something I said, send it. I always love having conversations. If you want some help, I'm happy to have a consultation with you, whatever you need. Yeah, I can send you the form for the Google Doc for the production sheet, and you can download the circumplex theory to understand some general pacing things. All right, it's been great talking with you. I will see you soon.